Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Thank you very much for joining me for another episode. Today we'll be talking about seedling transplanting. And before I continue on the topic of the day, I'd like to say a big thank you for those of you who have liked, subscribed, shared, given feedback. I really do appreciate you. So today, remember how we planted our seedlings and we put all the seedlings in one cup and then they grew? Or hopefully they grew. So today I'll show you what I typically do with my seedlings. Some other gardeners will tell you pick only the strongest one, cut the remaining off. I tend not to do that. I find it very hard to kill a plant. So I tend to move them into larger pots or just transplant them even though they're already seedlings. So that's what I'll be showing you today. Stay tuned. So these are my seedlings so far. As you can see, a number of them have more than one or two inside a pot. So these are the ones I'll focus on. This just transplanting it into a different container so there's a little bit more room for them to breathe. And remember I mentioned that you should not be too concerned if your seedlings are taking time to germinate. If you missed that, you can watch episode 6, I believe. The link is over here. But you can see, even after almost 3 weeks, you can see there are some seedlings that are still trying to germinate. So don't give up, just have a bit of patience. Your seeds will grow as long as you provided the 3 main things that are needed. If you missed that, check episode 4 for the things that are needed to make sure your seed, to give you a higher success of germinating your seeds. So this is what I do. And then because we are using compostable containers, the intent is that when you're ready to plant them, you just place this into the soil. So ideally, you should have only one per tray so that when you're actually going to transplant, you can actually move it. As I said before, some schools of thought are you just snip or cut over, kill or cut whichever one doesn't appear to be growing well. I find it hard to do that, so I tend to transplant these into different cups. So for this, I have my already prepared seed tray. Before you move or transplant anything, always make sure that your soil is moist. So I'm just going to water them. Remember I mentioned I like to group my things together. So for this one, I'm just going to use this tray is only going to be for my shepherd's pepper, my shepherd's pepper. So what you do is take one of the cups, just put in like a bigger hole on them. Then take the one that already has the seed, that'll be the seedlings, and then space them out a bit. So I'll work on this one here. What I tend to do is I prefer to use a spoon to scoop it out and then place it into the cup. If I can, I try to make sure that the root is planted in deep, because deep roots is also one of the things that helps your plants to grow. So this is it, and then I'll water again. For demonstration purpose, I will do one more. When you get your tray, that'll be your cup, put in a very deep hole. From the one you want to transplant from, you can just use a knife or to move it away or move it aside, give it a bit of space, give it room. Use a spoon, I use a spoon, and then just scoop. going to pick. And then bury it as deep as you can. And then you water. One more time for demonstration. You dig in to get a very deep hole. Then you either use a spoon to scoop, or you gently, before you do that, you just like use a knife to dislodge anything that might be there. Then you gently lift the seedling and place it in your new case, and then you water it. I will do yet another one for demonstration. Water. Use a knife to loosen it up a bit. Either use a spoon to scoop, or gently pull it out. And then you bury it deep in the new container, and then you water. I will do it again. You start, you dig a deep hole in. For the one that has multiple seedlings, you use a knife to dislodge the soil a bit, just so everything is not clumped together. Carefully use a spoon, or you use your hand to get out the seedling. Then you place it deep in the hole you have created, and then water. So I'll do the same thing for the rest. I feel like doing one more demo. Dig a deep hole in here. Get the one that has the multiple seedlings. Put a knife in to loosen them a bit. Gently remove the seedling that you want to transplant, and then place it in the deep in the hole, and then cover with soil and water. And then you replace the other one back. Voila, so this is now my new seedling tray. I don't typically, I may still leave a couple with a bit more, and I continue the process as we continue. That just gives a bit more potential seeds to grow. I will do the rest for my chilies and my pimento, but if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. And for some of your seedlings, you might find out that it's a little bit leggy. What you do in that case is bury it as deep as you can and then add more soil into the cup to bury the stem. That just helps you to get deeper roots. This one is also a little bit leggy, and that's why it's typically not recommended that you fill your cups or your planting containers all the way to the very top of the container, because this just helps you with securing better roots of your plants. Remember I mentioned that my preference is to use the larger disposable cups, and I think today I'll actually show you why. So for different types of plants, and depending on how your seeds go, sometimes they grow to have very deep roots. Now, when I was trying to transplant my pimento pepper, I noticed that the roots are quite long. So these containers, i.e. the gardening containers, are too small for it. So they'll need to move very soon. So what you can do if you find out that is a little bit long is take it and then replace it into one of the plastic cups. Remember I said sow it as deep as you can, and then water. Or alternatively, you can cut this and put it in the other space. So you take the container, just snip it as to the part you want to remove. You can even tear it depending on how that is. And these are biodegradable containers, so they will be fine. And then what you do then is just bury it into a cup. Add more soil for support. Just bury it with the cup into a big larger cup. And then you water. So that is what you do for the biodegradable ones. Once you realize that your seeds may be too big for the cups, and as I mentioned, that's why I prefer these cups, because they have larger space. The 18-ounce cups, they have larger space, so you don't necessarily have to move things along if you find out that your plants are growing a lot faster than the smaller containers. Okay, I'm going to show you one more time what to do in case you realize that your biodegradable cups are too small, or that you have deep roots for different plants. And sometimes you see it shooting out from the bottom of the roots, but for these ones, I noticed when I was transplanting that they're a bit deep. So what you do is just cut out the portion if you're using one of these square ones. If you're using one of the circular ones, just bury it in. That's fine. Then you bury it in, let me add a bit of soil. You bury it into your cup, and then you just add soil to meet to the point where the biodegradable container is. And once that's done, you water. And stuff.